Hello everyone. Welcome back to another Commander review for Magic the Gathering. We are rounding out the Future Sight set. We have two more commanders to talk about, and the first of those two is Tarox Bladewing, who is a legendary dragon. And this is the last of the Grandeur commanders from this set. It's a legendary dragon. It's a 4/3 for power and toughness with a total mana value of 5. 2 generic, 3 red mana. It has the flying and haste keywords, which is pretty iconic for most dragons. And then the Grandeur mechanic requires you to discard cards of the same name. In this case, discard another card named Tarox Bladewing. If you can do this, which is going to be very difficult to set up an engine for in Commander, but if you can do this, Tarox Bladewing gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is its power. So again, this is a difficult mechanic to build around because you need to have the cards of the same name in your hand to discard to activate this ability. So if you can build the engine for it, you can do this. Red might struggle a lot with the reanimation aspect because getting it into the graveyard is pretty easy. Red is great at discarding cards. However, red is not really that great at putting those cards back into your hand. So you're going to need to really build around a specific theme and probably have a lot of different tutors to get that theme going. But if you can, then yeah, you could probably double up Tarox's power and toughness a bunch, which would be absolutely insane and could win games. One card ruling for this commander: the +X/+X bonus is based on Tarox Bladewing's power at the time the ability resolves. It won't change if Tarox's power changes later in the turn. For example, on a positive note, if you were to give Tarox +2/+2, or even just double Tarox's power, making it a 8/3, then you were to activate its Grandeur ability, it would get +8/+8, because that's the current power of Tarox. Same goes true if you gave a +2/+2, and then you activated Grandeur, it would get +6/+6. If you left it alone and you didn't add anything to its power and toughness prior to activating the Grandeur ability, it would get +4/+4 because 4 is its base power. However, if someone were to give it -1 or give it -1/-1 counters on Tarox, its power would then be less than 4. So it would only get +X/+X where it's whatever its power is. If it's a 3 power creature, because it has a -1/-1 counter on it, it would get +3/+3, and so on and so forth. So just bear that in mind. Every time it resolves, it counts towards the current power of Tarox, which is why, if you can get the engine going to use the Grandeur ability over and over and over again, which again will be very difficult to do in Commander, but if you can do it, you can give it +4/+4, then +8/+8, then +16/+16, and so on and so forth, along with all the other power doubling shenanigans that Red has prior to using Grandeur. A card I chose to synergize with this commander is Campfire. This is one of the few ways in mono red that you're going to be able to get your commander specifically into your hand. So really trying to figure out how to use this, because obviously if you use Campfire, you lose it because you have to exile it. So you either have to make a bunch of Campfires, or you have to have other ways of getting your commander into your hand so you can discard it again. Again, it's a very, very tricky way to go around building this archetype, but if you can do it, you can do some crazy power damage with this commander. Speaking of power, even though the Grandeur ability is going to be very difficult to build around, you still can build around a Powers Matter deck, which obviously brings it into play one of my favorite archetypes, the Ball Lightning strategy, where you have cheap creatures with high power, low toughness. You want to attack with them with haste and some form of evasion, and then usually they have, at the beginning of the next end step, sacrifice this creature. Another version of this mechanic or archetype is the Blitz mechanic, the Blitz casting cost that you find on the Streets of New Capenna set. It does a very similar thing, gives it haste, sacrifice it at the end of the end step, and with that done, you have these giant big creatures in play for pretty cheap mana, which means you can play your other spells that benefit you from having high-powered creatures. Like Bolt Bend is a great form of defense in mono red because you want strong creatures to protect and redirect those pesky spells that your opponents cast. And then a good value engine kind of control burn strategy is Sarkhan's Unsealing. Really fun here. You want to be casting big spells anyway. And Ball Lightning is a fantastic example of this because for 3 mana, you can easily get the 4 damage to any target, and then you might need to do a little bit of workaround stuff, but when you cast those big spells, those 7 power creature spells, you're going to be able to do a lot of damage to a lot of your opponent's stuff, which is really, really cool. And that's going to do it for Tarox Bladewing. So, unfortunate news for Tarox. There's not a lot of decks to build around with this commander. There was only a few, maybe a handful of deck ideas just for this one commander. And mostly that is just due to the fact that if you wanted to build any other archetype around this commander, there are better or cheaper commanders for it. But this is great because it means this could be a budget commander for a haste strategy, a flying strategy, a dragon strategy, a powers matter strategy, an aggro strategy, a mono red devotion strategy with, you know, kind of building around a budget there. This could be a budget commander for that. Lots of different opportunities for this commander to build around because it's probably really cheap. Let me see, I can check right here. According to my phone, which is taking forever to load, all of a sudden. Come on, phone. Why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me? Oh yeah, this is a pretty cheap commander. On average, this is a pretty cheap commander. Which is also crazy to think about because it's only ever been printed in this set. So with that in mind, you could go a lot of different routes with this commander. It's just a lot of people choose not to because there are different or better options out there. So I think this would be a fun commander to build around. Maybe surprise your table with a fun deck idea that has a fun and interesting commander to build around. Or maybe a hidden commander to build around. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for all your support. As always, I could not do this without your guys' support. So thank you so much. If you want to support the channel more, you can hit the subscribe button. You can hit the bell to get notified when more videos come out. Memberships are now available for the channel. So feel free to check that out. And thank you again, guys. As always, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!